Hello, you're going to recognize the following activities from the week of October 31st when Sheila and I both set up some nature-based activities out in the Pine Grove. And I wanted to share with you some of the ECIPs that I kind of took into account when I was planning the activities. This one was approaches to learning, initiative and curiosity, and creativity. And then with physical development, it was fine motor, and scientific thinking was discover. And so I always just kind of look at like, how am I incorporating usually more than one ECIP into the learning opportunities that I have available to my students. And you can see it looking at them, they're looking in the mirror, they're manipulating the objects, which is bringing in that curiosity. And this wasn't, there weren't set things they had to do with these materials, so there could have been some creativity. They could have started to build with them, and we know, especially with young kids, them using their hands would be a great thing for their fine motor development. This one was the putting the tree cookies in the baskets, out of the baskets. They could also build with them, and that is the scientific thinking, discover, and then also act, and integrating their knowledge from previous things into their experience here. This is one of the activities that I wasn't using natural materials for, but it was still, I don't know if I completely call it nature-based, but you could do some patterning, also really looking with the math of geometry and spatial thinking. This was the sorting activity where they could either sort them by color or shape, which is really also, and I didn't put this as one of the ECIPs, but it's also, it could be considered almost a pre-reading, because they're having to really pay attention to the difference in the shapes. All of that leads to that when you're thinking about them looking at the difference in letters. This next one, again, was just looking and exploring with the pine cones, and I could have included some approaches to learning in this one as well, but the ones I focused on were patterns, and then geometry and spatial thinking as well, with them looking at the different pine cones and the variety of patterns they could have decided to create with that, and then even just the spatial thinking with the differences and the variety of them. The Samaras, initiative and curiosity, also fine motor, just because the seeds were pretty small. And you think about, we take for granted this, right? Like, we have good fine motor skills, we can pick up these things. Well, children 2, 3, 4, 5 years old are still building those skills, and so sometimes what we are wanting to build in are really simple things that, as I said, we tend to take for granted. Discovery, it would have been not shocking if young kids played with these and broke them apart. That's part of just making discoveries as you're exploring things. And then also knowledge, number knowledge, as kids were getting older and ready for some counting. This last one, the puzzle that I believe was missing a piece, I still haven't found it. The math one, number knowledge. We know that some kids are going to be more ready for that than others. Patterns, and then also geometry and spatial thinking. Anytime that there are puzzles involved, we know that we're building in that spatial thinking. Sheila, anything else that we need to?
I don't think so. I think this
Okay.
is a really great example of some, and you'll use this for the documentation of when you have done yours. But what we want you to do is start to think about, how do I plan around these standards? So that's what the assignment's going to be on. So after you look at these two videos and read over the introduction section to the ECIPs, and then read your area completely, your domain area completely, then you're going to do the activity for this week, just kind of practicing setting up an activity that meets at least one area of the ECIPs. And that's it.
Awesome. Great. Thank you. Enjoy.